Are you a newcomer to the Pokemon TCG? Or maybe you have a family member who has begun an interest in the world of Pokemon. Or maybe you're returning to collecting after years of being absent from the hobby. If any of those things apply to you, or perhaps maybe a secret fourth thing, then this video is for you. In this video, we are going to be covering everything you need to know to start your Pokemon card collecting journey. So let's get right into it. There is a lot of different terminology in the Pokemon TCG, and it can be very, very confusing if you're a beginner. I certainly know it was very confusing for me when I started out collecting. I started my Pokemon journey by playing the games first, so I did know a bit of terminology, but I remember one day I just opened my first pack and I was like, what is going on? So we're gonna cover all of the terminology that you need to know when collecting Pokemon cards. So starting off, we have the eras. So an era refers to a period of time where a certain set of cards, games, etc. was released. So we just left the Sword and Shield era and entered the Scarlet and Violet era. A new era of Pokemon is usually marked by the release of a video game, followed by a base set of Pokemon cards for that era. So for the Sword and Shield era, we had the Sword and Shield game for the Nintendo Switch, followed by the Sword and Shield base set in the Pokemon card world. Right now, we are currently in the Scarlet and Violet era, which was marked by the Scarlet and Violet games, again, for the Nintendo Switch, and then we had the Scarlet and Violet era base set, which is that box right there, that purple one. That is a Scarlet and Violet era base set ETB, which we will get into ETBs a little bit later in the video. You can tell what era a card set is from as it will be in the name. So usually how Pokemon card booster packs work is there will be the expansion title. Now an expansion is a subset in an era. Usually an era of cards will have quite a few expansions in it. So essentially how it works is it will say, for example, Scarlet and Violet Paldea Evolved. So that's how you know the Paldea Evolved expansion is from the Scarlet and Violet era. And with every other expansion as well, we'll say that, depending on what era it's from. Now we're going to get into the rarity scale, and this is kind of important if you are collecting cards, depending on what you're collecting cards for. But yeah, it's important to know, especially if you're trading as well, the rarity of your card. And now there's a bit of a difference between the generic Pokemon rarity scale and the rarity defined by the community. And by that I mean there's certain demand for certain characters, certain arts of cards that may be the same rarity marked by Pokemon. Like you might have a card that is technically the same rarity, but it has a higher demand from the community and therefore is worth more. So getting into the Pokemon defined rarity scale. So we have rarity symbols, which you can find in the bottom left, I believe. We're going to be going over the anatomy of a card and anatomy of a booster pack a little bit later if you don't know where to find these things, but I'm just gonna read off the rarity scales. So the current rarity scale for the Scarlet and Violet era is as follows. It recently changed from the Sword and Shield era. The Sword and Shield era has a different rarity scale, but this is the current state of the rarity scale for the most current era of Pokemon cards. We have a circle equals a common card, a diamond equals an uncommon card, one black star equals a rare, 2 black stars equals a double rare, 2 silver stars equals an ultra rare, 1 gold star equals an illustration rare, 2 gold stars equals a special illustration rare, and finally 3 gold stars equals a hyper rare. Now there is a little bit more terminology when it comes to rarity, and that corresponds with the symbols. So usually a certain symbol will directly lead to a certain type of card. I'm going to tell you that right now. Starting off with one of the most basic rarities in the Scarlet and Violet era, we have the EX card, a regular EX card. I have one right here. So this is a regular EX card. It's special. Usually people play with these, and yeah, so you can tell what an EX is. It says EX, and those are double rares. Those are a little bit better than a holo rare. In the Sword and Shield era, holo rares were not guaranteed, but in the Scarlet and Violet era, holo rares are guaranteed. So they are a little bit less rare. So EXs are kind of the most basic tier good cards, you know. Next up, we have full art cards, and so that's exactly what it sounds like. It's a card that takes up the entirety of the allotted space with art. This is a full art. Let me take it out of that. So this is a full art card. As you can see, it takes up the whole area of the card with art compared to something like an EX where you only have this tiny square for the art of the Pokemon. So with this one, the Pokemon takes up the whole thing. And usually with full arts, it's usually just a colored background. Not really too much going on, but still pretty nice, and they are textured. Full arts are defined by 2 silver stars in the current Scarlet and Violet era rarity system, and that counts as an ultra rare. Then we have illustration rares and special illustration rares, which were formally referred to as alt arts, and illustration rares did not exist in the Sword and Shield era, so they are new to the Scarlet and Violet era. I personally really like them. Illustration rares are of regular Pokemon, and special illustration rares are of EX Pokemon and trainers. You can also hear illustration rares and special illustration rares referred to as art rares and special art rares, which are then abbreviated to SIR or SAR respectively. Lastly, we have gold cards, which are exactly as they sound. They are cards that are gold. In the Sword and Shield era, we used to have rainbow cards, but those were removed for the Scarlet and Violet era. I am hoping one day we'll see them back. Alas, I shall continue to yearn for them. Anyways, so gold cards are the last of the rarity scale. They are hyper rares. They are 3 gold stars. You would think that gold cards are generally the most expensive and most rare. That is not true. They're kind of lame. You didn't hear it from me though. So now that we have sorted out the rarity terminology, let's get into some extra terms regarding collecting Pokemon cards. Starting off, we have slabs. So this is a slab. I actually just got this for Christmas. It's so cute. It's a Flareon. A slab is to refer to a graded card in one of these protective cases. Usually people will be selling these. They make special slab binders to fit these hard protective plastic cases in them. I didn't get my first slab until like a couple years into collecting, I think. So it's up to you. Some people only collect slabs. That's something that you can do. It's up to you. It's up to the individual. The next term we're going to discuss is singles. You may hear people referring to things as singles, and you're probably like, what is a single? A single is literally just a single card. It's just a single. It's just one lone card, and that's usually referred to in the selling and buying world of Pokemon. You might hear people saying they're looking to buy singles, and that means they're looking for a single card. They're not looking to buy a set, they're not looking to buy a booster pack, they're looking to buy one single card from a set. Next up, we have shiny. Now, if you play the games, you might already know what a shiny is. A shiny is not a shiny card. I know that can be confusing. A lot of people actually do confuse that. But so when I say shiny, I don't mean something like a holo. Those two are not interchangeable. A shiny Pokemon is a Pokemon that is a different color than what it usually is. So for example, I'm going to take Espeon. If you don't know what Espeon is a Eevee evolution, the psychic type, and it is usually purple. A shiny version of Espeon is green. You might think, well, how do I get a shiny Pokemon card? And so Pokemon releases special shiny sets, usually once per era. They usually end in Fates in the title. So the most recent shiny set is Paldean Fates. We have the ETB up there, purple Mimikyu. And so usually these sets will have regular reprinted cards from other sets, and then they will have special shiny Pokemon. And there's a few terminologies within those sets that I think you should know. So we have baby shinies, which refers to regular shiny Pokemon cards that aren't full arts or illustration rares. They're just the regular basic shiny cards. And so those are called baby shinies. And I think it's kind of adorable, actually. It's kind of cute. And then wrapping this up, we have the terminologies hit or pull, and that refers to getting a good card from a booster pack. So usually the lowest form of a hit or a pull is an EX card, which we talked about earlier. I hope you're keeping notes. I hope you're studying. Some people don't even define those as hits. I personally do. And then you have some really good ones, like really good SIRs that are like, whoa, that hit was a hit, you know? You get what I'm saying? I hope you can pick up on the vibes of that. Can you tell this is a professional Pokemon course? I hope you can tell the vibes I'm trying to give. We have Chase card. I had a lot of spit in my mouth for that. My apologies. Chase cards are cards that you are chasing after. Usually there will be kind of one chase card of the set that everybody wants, or you can have your own chase card, which is what I usually do. Chases go throughout all the worlds of collectibles. Sometimes it's used to refer to the rarest card of a set. I've seen it used interchangeably. With Pokemon cards, having a completed set and having a master set are two different things. A completed set usually means you have one of every card. Like holos, they come in the regular holo form and they come in a reverse holo form. So a completed set might mean you only have the holo version of it, but you have at least one of that type of card, whereas a master set means you have every single version of every single card of a certain set. So like a Surging Sparks master set will have every single holo, every single reverse holo, every single card, and every single version of every single card. And then lastly, we have promo cards, finishing up the terminology category. And a promo card is a card that comes as a promotional item, whether that be through a contest, whether that be through a promotion on the Pokemon Center, or it can be like in a product. Sometimes you'll see Pokemon products that have cards in them, usually through like a little plastic window. That's what promo cards are. They're cards that you didn't pull and they were just kind of like given away to you. So we are going to be discussing the anatomy of a card now. We're going to start off with a basic card. I just realized I forgot to turn my lights on. My fairy lights. How sad. Just know that I do have fairy lights, and just know I'm really cool for having them. The anatomy of a basic card. So in the top left corner of a Pokemon card, you will see the name of the Pokemon, their stage, and what Pokemon they evolved from if they did evolve. The stage of a Pokemon refers to what stage of evolution it is in. It does vary from set to set depending on what other Pokemon are included in that set, and it's mainly for playing the game. If you're just collecting, I wouldn't worry too much about it, but if you want to play the game, now you know what that does. So in the top right corner, you will see the HP of a Pokemon, which HP stands for health points, and you will also see the type. You can also tell the type of a Pokemon based on the color of the card when we're talking about these basic Pokemon cards, like commons, uncommons, holos. Full arts, you won't really be able to tell the type based off of color. It just kind of is based, the color is just kind of based off vibes with the full arts. And again, type isn't really super important unless you're playing the game. Looking at the bottom half of the card will tell you what attacks the Pokemon can use and how much damage they do, as well as how many energies it costs. Underneath those attacks, you will see the weakness and resistance of a Pokemon, which again is relevant to playing the TCG. Beside that, you will have the retreat cost of a Pokemon, which means that's how many energy it costs to take that Pokemon from the attacking spot and put it back on your bench. And then underneath that, on the bottom left-hand corner, you will have the illustrator. So that's the person who drew the picture for the card, the number it is in the set. So we have secret rares as well, which will be, let's say if the set number is 182, it'll be like 189 out of 182, and you're like, well, it goes over, it's secret, you're not supposed to know about it, but we all do know about it because they come in the booklets that come with the ETBs. So you also have the rarity symbol, so that is how you find your rarity. You will have the set. Sword and Shield era had set symbols, but they recently changed it to abbreviations in the Scarlet and Violet era. And then you will have a little letter in the corner that determines whether a card is legal for play or not. And then in the bottom right corner, you will have a little blurb about the Pokemon that tells you a little bit about the Pokemon, and I personally find this really interesting. This is a Snorunt promo card, and I will read you the little blurb. It is said that several Snorunt gather under giant leaves and live together in harmony. Who would have thought? That is the anatomy of a card. EX cards have rule boxes, which is essentially just this little bit down here that says when your Pokemon V is knocked out, your opponent takes 2 prize cards. Oh, and by the way, Vs are essentially the Sword and Shield era version of EXs. Alright, moving into the anatomy of a booster pack. This I think is very important. If you've never opened a booster pack, I know when I first opened mine, I was so confused and I was like, what is going on? So I'm going to tell you how a booster pack works and all that good stuff. In an English booster pack, you're probably like, English, there's many different languages of Pokemon cards. You'll probably be collecting English. Some people collect Japanese. That is a popular one that is worldwide collected. Usually Japanese or English is the typical collection. Of course, unless you live somewhere else. I have personally seen French cards. I live in Canada. We are bilingual here. Not all of us. I can't speak French for the life of me, but we are a bilingual country, which means we sell French products. So I have seen French Pokemon cards. I'm going to be discussing an English booster pack. We're not going to get into the Japanese, but it is an option. If you want to delve into that, you're on your own, okay? So an English booster pack has 10 cards plus an energy card and a code card for the Pokemon TCG Live. You can either type the code in or scan it. If you're looking to play the game, the Pokemon TCG Live is a really great way to do that, so you might want to get some of those codes. You can buy them online, or you can buy your own booster packs and get them that way. But a lot of people sell them on eBay and stuff, or YouTubers sometimes give them away. I just recently started giving mine away because I do play the Pokemon TCG Live myself. So depending on what era of cards you're opening, the energy card might be in a different spot. We're going to be discussing the Scarlet and Violet era, as that is the current era and the most recent one, and probably the one you're going to be opening. Hello, it is another day. Yes, my sweater is on backwards. I don't want to hear it, okay? If it's not on backwards, you can't see how cute it is. So depending on what era of cards you're opening from, the energy card will be in a different spot in the booster pack. And so for the Scarlet and Violet era, they put the energy card at the back of the pack. Essentially, when you open it, the card here, a lot of people move it to the front, or they'll just like take it and throw it away, and then everything will be in order and you don't have to do anything else. If you're opening a pack from the Sword and Shield era, you will have to take 4 cards from the back of the pack and then move those to the front, and then the energy will be in front and the hit of the pack will be in the back. Typically, a pack with no hits will have 2 reverse hollow slots and then 1 hollow. In the Sword and Shield era, we only had 1 reverse hollow spot. So when you open your first booster pack, you'll open it, and on one side there'll be a code card, and on the other side there will be a usual common Pokemon card. So that common is the front of the pack. So what you're going to want to do is take the code card and put it off to the side, and then depending on what era you're opening from, either the Sword and Shield or the Scarlet and Violet era, you're going to take either 1 card for the Scarlet and Violet era and move that to the front. That will be your energy card, and that will set up the pack for you. Or if you're opening from the Sword and Shield era, you're going to want to take 4 cards from that back and move those to the front, and that will set up the pack for you for all the hits to be on the end. While the Sword and Shield era is officially over, you can still find it in stores as well as on the Pokemon Center website. I would personally recommend that you start your collection with the Scarlet and Violet era cards. The Scarlet and Violet era generally has better pull rates, especially some of the earlier sets like the Scarlet and Violet base or Paldea Evolved, Obsidian Flames, all those good ones. It does entirely depend though on why you are collecting cards. I'm gonna get into some of the best sets in my opinion, and you obviously can do your own research. This is my personal recommendations of where to start. Starting with some of the best sets in the Sword and Shield era, the #1 best set to me in the Sword and Shield era is Crown Zenith. Zenith, I believe, means the pinnacle, and that is exactly what Crown Zenith is. It was the last set in the Sword and Shield era. It was a sort of celebration of sorts to wrap up that era of Pokemon cards, and therefore it has some really, really beautiful stuff in there, as well as pretty good pull rates. Because Crown Zenith is sort of a celebratory set, it does have a lot of popular Pokemon in it, like Pikachu, Eevee, Charizard, all those good popular picks of favorite Pokemon, and that is another reason why you may want to consider opening it. There is a really special Pikachu card in there. There's an Eevee V, there is Leafeon V-Star, Glaceon V-Star, lots of fun stuff in there. Next up, we have Evolving Skies. Evolving Skies has recently blown up in popularity for a very, very good reason. I don't recommend this set to you. However, if you absolutely must have it, I can't stop you. Now, the reason Evolving Skies is so popular is because it is an Eevee based set. It has a lot of really cool cards. I really don't recommend you purchasing it at the current market price though. It is so crazy, and it has really bad pull rates. It's just not a very good set to open, I would say. You can find it though in certain products still in store and on the Pokemon Center. If you're going to buy Evolving Skies, I would recommend that you do it through those products. If you are looking to get your hands on some evolutions, don't worry, there is a new evolution set coming out for the Scarlet and Violet era called Prismatic Evolutions in January. I would highly recommend to you that that is how you get your evolution fix. It is already released in Japanese under the name Terrestrial Festival if you can't wait a couple of weeks. Another really good set from the Sword and Shield era is Fusion Strike. It is selling out like crazy right now, and I believe for good reason. It was actually the first set that I ever opened, and I have a Build and Battle Stadium box right there that I'm planning to open very soon on the channel. I would recommend that set. It has a Gengar alt art, it has an Espeon alt art. There's lots of really cool cards in Fusion Strike. For the Scarlet and Violet era, 151 is a really fun set. It is a bit overpriced right now, but there will be many runs of it to come. It's a brand new set. They will be printing more. They recently did a restock of the mini tins this summer. 151 is based off of the original 151 Pokemon, so if you're returning to collecting, this could be a really great set for you for some nostalgia. For me, I have a binder for it. It's that white one right there because I just think it's kind of an iconic set, and you might want to get your hands on that. Paldea Evolved is another set in the Scarlet and Violet era that is, I wouldn't say necessarily making its rounds, but the singles in it definitely are, and for good reason. I think there's a lot of really cool cards in that set. It features the starters from Generation 9 and their evolutions. Paldean Fates is also a really good set from the Scarlet and Violet era. Again, it's a shiny set, so it features all those shiny versions of Pokemon. I think that makes it really fun. I personally really like that set. However, the shiny cards in Paldean Fates can only be pulled from one of the last 3 slots. Therefore, it is quite difficult to complete. It's just fun to open. Maybe not to master set, but it's very fun to open. Surging Sparks is the most recent release of the Pokemon TCG. It has an SIR of Pikachu. If you're a Pikachu fan, that might be a set that you want to collect. Another set, if you're a Pikachu fan, is Vivid Voltage from the Sword and Shield era. It has what the community has dubbed Chunkachu. It's a fat Pikachu. Now, getting into some rumored releases. I guess it's not rumored. It's been confirmed. Prismatic Evolutions, the brand new Eevee set, comes out January 17th. Again, if you like Eevee, that is probably something you want to look out for. We have a rumored Team Rocket set. I don't believe it's been officially announced yet. Rumored to come out sometime in 2025. There was an original Team Rocket set released a while ago, and it was quite popular. And then we have the Journey Together set, which is featuring the return of trainer-owned Pokemon. And so what that means is essentially instead of Pikachu, you're gonna have Ash's Pikachu. There'll probably be some good arts, judging by what we've seen so far. So Pokemon cards come in a variety of products, so let's go through a few of them. So we have Elite Trainer boxes, also known as ETBs, booster boxes, booster bundles, tins, and mini tins. Now, there's a lot of other products, but these are the main ones that tend to always be released with certain sets. So ETBs are these things up here on this shelf. They come with everything that you need to play the game. That's kind of their whole purpose, is to set you up. I usually buy one for every set because I like collecting them. They're really good display pieces. I also really like them because they come with something called a player's guide. And so a player's guide has every single card that is in that certain expansion. So there's 2 types of ETBs. There's Pokemon Center exclusive ETBs, and then there's regular ETBs. Pokemon Center exclusive ETBs come with 11 packs, and regular ETBs come with 9 packs. Booster boxes include 36 packs, and that's it. They're really good if you're wanting to complete a set. However, they can be very expensive. Booster bundles are our next thing, not to be confused with booster boxes. These contain 6 packs, and I think they're almost kind of like a budget booster box. They're a good alternative to booster boxes if you don't want or need 36 packs at once. Next, we have tins. Tins usually contain a variety of packs. It's usually not just one unless it's for a special set. The Paldean Fates tins have all Paldean Day and Fates packs, and the tins usually contain around 4 to 5 packs depending on the size. There are these horizontal tins and then there's vertical tins, and the vertical tins usually have about 4 packs in them. Many tins can include a variety of packs, or sometimes they'll just include 2 of the same pack. Mini tins are just small little tins and they include 2 packs, an art card, and usually some stickers as well. I like mini tins, it's fun, but if you open a lot of them, they can be hard to store because then you just have a lot of tins and nowhere to put them. I'm not speaking from experience. Now, the official Pokemon store is called the Pokemon Center. You can order from them online. I do believe the only place that has retail locations is Japan. So ordering from the Pokemon Center online guarantees that you are going to get 100% authentic products. I personally recommend supporting your local card shops. You know, eventually you build a relationship with them. I personally recommend going to local card stores for newer releases, and then for rare sets, I recommend looking in stores like Walmart, Pokemon Center, GameStop, because usually local card stores will charge more for rarer sets, whereas places like Walmart and GameStop, they will just be charging regular retail price instead of actual market price. So for example, if miraculously Walmart found they had Evolving Skies stock and put it on the shelf, it would cost a regular ETB, whereas if I went into a local card store, it would probably be way more expensive. So how do you know when to buy singles or when to actually rip into some packs yourself? For me personally, I usually rip at least 1 ETB of a set. My advice is that if you only want 1 or 2 cards from a set, to just buy them right out as singles, whereas if you really like a set as a whole, I would recommend then ripping booster packs for it. It's really up to the individual person, but just know that that is an option to you to buy singles. You don't have to flat out pull your card to get it. It's up to you and how much money you want to spend or feel like you are spending. There's many different ways of displaying and storing your Pokemon cards. One of the most popular ways to store your Pokemon cards is binders. You can find trading card binders in a variety of colors and sizes. You're also able to find something called slab binders, which, as we discussed earlier, a slab is a graded card in one of those plastic cases. Essentially, a slab binder is made with bigger slots to hold those protective plastic cases. So if you're looking for a way to store lots of graded cards, you can get a slab binder. They also make like these plastic, sometimes metal cases that you can kind of put rows in. Most of these things can be found on Amazon. Basically anything can be found on Amazon nowadays. I personally get most of my stuff from Amazon just because it's the easiest and there's lots of variety to pick from. These binders are from Amazon Canada. If you're just starting out in a card collecting hobby, you'll likely want to pick up something called penny sleeves. Penny sleeves are this clear plastic sleeve to protect your cards. Often what people will do is they will sleeve their card and then put it in a binder spot. It's up to you what rarity you want to sleeve it up. Some people sleeve reverse hollows and up, some people sleeve hollows and up, some people only sleeve EXs and up, and some people don't even sleeve EXs. Personally, for me, I sleeve EXs and up. I don't bother sleeving my reverse hollows or my hollows. You can get penny sleeves from your local dollar store or your local card store, but you can also find them on Amazon as well. You may also want to pick up something called a top loader. A top loader is a rigid, clear plastic case that prevents the card from bending. I personally don't use top loaders a lot, but make sure that if you are using top loaders, you have to put the card in a plastic penny sleeve before putting it into the top loader. If you don't put the card in a penny sleeve before putting it into a top loader, you risk damaging the card and scratching its surfaces. I also found these little card stands on Amazon. They can hold lots of things, not just cards. I actually have a Honolulu Pokemon Championship coin on one of these stands over there on my shelf. And so basically you just have it, you just put the card in. It can hold cards in slabs and top loaders in sleeves, any way of storage you want. So maybe not a binder. I don't think a binder will fit on here. They're really good for displaying single cards. This is a Oh my god, he just died. Like I said, I found those on Amazon. I think they're really cool. I really like them. And they're probably my favorite method of displaying my cards. There are also some pricier ways of storing cards with special display cases. I'm personally not going to get into that today. You can find them on Amazon if you so desire to. Grading cards can be a little bit daunting. I definitely know I haven't delved into that world just yet. Grading a card is when you send a card away to a grading company like PSA or Beckett. If you don't know what happened with Beckett, I recommend you Googling it. I'm sure Google can explain better than I can. I don't know how it has affected the grading company itself, but maybe stay clear from that. PSA is typically the most common grading company I see used for Pokemon cards. Essentially, when you send a card away for grading, the company will determine how perfect the card is. Then they will send it back to you in one of those protective plastic cases with all the information on it. A 10 is the best condition a card can be in. It is 100% perfect, and a 10 is the standard to aim for with grading. A 1 is the opposite of that spectrum and is therefore the worst condition a card can be in. In my opinion, the easiest way to get a card graded is to visit your local card store. Often they will send batches away for all their customers. I also hear that GameStop is also doing that. They will handle everything for you and send your card away for a fee, of course. So that brings our video to a close. That, I'm hoping, should be everything that you need to get started. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe. We are trying to hit 1K on this channel, and I do plan on opening the Terrapagos UPC once we hit 1K. If you liked the video, don't forget to like the video. I will put a link to all my Pokemon card openings down below, and goodbye for now.